Welcome to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I'm Drew's co-host, entertainment writer Jim Hill, and he and I are recording the show on Friday, January 15th, 2020. Brand new year, Drew. Been a couple of years since we last recorded the show. Did you want to tell the class what you just spent the past week doing?
Well, we were supposed to record last Friday, and then we sort of hatched this plan because the COVID numbers in California are soaring, and the airports are not a great place to be, so we decided to drive across country from Connecticut to California, which is a good 3,000 miles. And so we got in late on Tuesday night, and I've just been running around trying to catch up with stuff since. So, but I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm just kind of stunned. I mean, Nancy and I do the 1,000-mile plus drive from New Hampshire down to Orlando every year or so, but 3,000 miles in January.
Yes.
In a car loaded with stuff you hold out of your childhood bedroom, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay, along with your wife and your dog, and nobody got stabbed? Nobody got left by the side of the road?
No, everybody was good, and the dog had a little help from Dr. Feelgood, but she was great. And yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy. And then you get into Utah, and it's just this craggy kind of like if the car broke down, who would come get us? Who would find us? And what would be left of us when they found us? These are the questions I'm asking myself, Jim.
Okay. What was the longest travel day?
I think the longest travel day was the last day, which was Denver to Los Angeles.
Oh.
That was, I think, 15 hours, give or take.
Cow.
So, yeah, that was a long one. And, it's weird because you think Las Vegas, you'll be able to stop and get something or do something. And it was really weird. The whole thing was very weird. Las Vegas was even sort of creepier during COVID. So, yeah, I mean, I was just thankful to not have to have McDonald's for lunch when I got back. And, so yeah, it was an adventure, Jim. I felt like you, since you drive all the time.
3,000 miles. I did that as a 10-year-old in a back seat. I did not do it driving.
Right.
So holy cow.
And there's a difference between kind of like planning cute visits and stuff and just trying to haul ass back home so we can start working again and stuff. Because we had been in Connecticut for over a month at that point. So I was recording episodes of this show from the closet of my childhood bedroom.
I mean, I know you were sort of thinning the herd, so to speak, but what made the cut to come back to LA in the car?
A lot of animation-related books. John Canemaker's Paper Dreams and a bunch of art of books, including the original art of Toy Story and art of The Lion King from 94 and 95, which are still beautiful books. And it meant a lot to me as a kid. And it's kind of funny, too, because it's like, wow, I had the original Pixar making up book, and then I got to write a Pixar making up book this year. So, it was nice. It kind of, felt full circle. So, yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Glad to have you back. Glad you made the trip safe. I have to admit, when you said that you were going to do this in January, I was just sweating that you were going to hit weather, but did you get anything during the run?
No, it was clear and incredibly cold. It was sort of nice because I'd done the drive before in the summer, and it was cool to see the kind of snowy mountain peaks and whatnot. And just to tie this into Disney a little bit, I had to drive by the Denver Library, Jim, which was designed by one of our favorites. Actually, I don't know how you feel about him, but one of my favorites, certainly, Michael Graves.
Oh, yeah.
So I took some photos there. You and Lynn have to do a kind of look at the aesthetic of the Eisner era at some point.
Oh, that would be tough.
Yeah.
Speaking of Graves, isn't there a building he designed? Or when I would make the drive down from L.A. to Comic-Con, I want to say just outside of San Diego, there's a Graves building.
Oh, is there? Well, one of our favorite Graves buildings is, down the street from me, which is Team Disney building, right? Yes. But so we tried to have fun here and there, but it was a lot of driving, Jim.
Okay, well, let's just jump back into it, starting with the news. I know you're a fan of the Looney Tunes reboot, relaunch that HBO
Yes.
Max started last May. Evidently, we've got a set of 10 new shorts in this series that are debuting on that streaming service on Thursday, January 21st.
Ooh, that's good.
It's the first time they've done a cartoon with Taz.
Ooh.
So I wonder if they got Jim Cummings back. He had been the voice of Taz for a while there. Speaking of animated series that are streaming, that are coming back, today, season 3 of Disenchantment, the Matt Groening show, is now available for streaming over on Netflix. Kind of the same thing with Looney Tunes. We get 10 new episodes, which kick off with a show called The Subterranean Homesick Blues. And we've already gone through the first season, which I guess they got a deal initially for 20 episodes. They broke that into 2 groups of 10 episodes. And then, what was it, just a couple of weeks after the first set aired that Netflix agreed to do another batch of 20, right? So
Yeah, well, we never know what Netflix's strategy is because, you and I will talk about some DreamWorks animated show, which is on its, 5th season and it debuted 18 months ago. So, yeah.
Okay. In fact, that's the thing. I'm a little puzzled by the release pattern because season 1 was August of 2018. Then I want to say season 2 was September of 2019, maybe?
That sounds right. Yeah.
And now we have this bunch debuting in January of 2021. And supposedly, again, we have 10 more out there that will be released at some point, which are season 4. Okay, if we haven't confused you enough at this point, let's talk about Earwig and the Witch.
I am 30 minutes into... See, Jim, this is the problem with me. I'm doing this insane Studio Ghibli ranking right now. Okay? So this will be as in-depth as my, Walt Disney Animation Studios list. But,
wow. Okay.
So I've watched 30 minutes of Earwig and the Witch. I think that's called Anya and the Witch overseas. And I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but I'm very excited that it's having such a huge debut. Do you want to talk about that?
So it's released to theaters on Wednesday, February 3rd. And I'm kind of intrigued here because it's both the subtitle and English dubbed version. And G-Kids is doing this with their usual partner, Fathom Events. But
right.
Isn't it typical for Fathom Events that they release these things on Saturday, Sunday, and it's Saturday is the English dub and then the Japanese original with the subtitles?
Okay.
But in this case, it's being released on a Wednesday, and then 2 days later, it goes live on HBO Max. It becomes available for streaming.
Yeah, pretty exciting. I mean, we've talked about this before, but it was a movie for Japanese television, and it came out in December in Japan. So it does make sense that it'll be on home video so quickly, or streaming, I should say. But, that's where almost all the Studio Ghibli movies are. Not all of them, but most of them are on HBO Max right now. And I think you're going to be able to choose in between the English or Japanese version on HBO Max, which is great.
Okay. Now, not to put you on the spot here, because again, you're still in the middle of doing this ranking, but there was some controversy based on the trailers and that sort of thing about Earwig and the Witch, about the Studio Ghibli look being translated from 2D to CG. And all right, you've seen a half hour or so now. If you get time in that world and you get time in the actual film, how does it work?
I think it works better than the trailer suggests, but I understand people's kind of complaints about it not the lighting not looking finished and stuff like that. But the Ghibli style is very much there. I just wish it had sort of been more faithfully translated, sort of like Lupin the Third. Did you ever watch that one, Jim? I think it's on VOD now or Blu-ray.
This is my weekend to catch up. So, I said, we finish with this. I do WandaVision. And then tomorrow I find time to watch Lupin, which will make my daughter happy. And somewhere in there will be 10 episodes of Disenchantment. I'll have little square eyeballs, but I'll be caught up.
Right.
All right. Well, very much looking forward then to your Studio Ghibli ranking at Collider. But again, you've done such nice stuff. And again, I can't figure out how you did this and packed up a house and driven around the country.
It's a lot.
Because we have to talk about at least two of your Collider stories over the past week. Everybody in the world read the exact same story that you did. Was it the Hollywood Reporter interview with Pete Docter?
Which is a great profile. I thought it was really, really well done. Right.
I agree, but you had your filters set up really high, and you were the one who picked up on, in the middle of this article, he revealed that Soul looks to be the last film he's directing for a while, right?
Yeah. And you know what? I had heard this sort of before because you and I know that he has an inherently deep understanding of Walt Disney Animation Studios history. And he just wrote or co-wrote an amazing book about Mark Davis. And he doesn't want to be one of the old white guys in the building who's complaining to the New York Times about the younger crop of animators at Pixar, which is what the Nine Old Men did circa, Black Cauldron. So I think he kind of like wants to be out of that sphere. But yeah, he said this, he's the chief creative officer now, and he said that job is not making films, it's guiding other people. I was initially worried that it would be like a tax taking me away from what I really love, but it's been surprisingly rewarding. So we will see. I mean, he talks very openly in that article about, we're trying to get more original movies, but we're still going to have to do sequels. They haven't announced any of the movies that he has personally greenlit, which is interesting. So I'm very curious. I really am excited about the Pixar 2.0, but to bring it back to Miyazaki, how many times has he retired, Jim, and come back?
This is a good point.
Right?
But at the same time, it's just the idea that the director of Monsters, Inc., Up, Inside Out, and Soul is going to be behind a desk.
Yeah.
That's kind of tough. From a personal, he's made a lot of films I've really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll be sprinkling that Pete Docter magic on even more productions, Jim. That's
Here's hoping. And talking about stuff that you've written for Collider that people really need to go check out, you actually broke some news today.
Yeah. The flat version of Myth, A Frozen Tale, which is a really cool VR short that Jeff Gibson directed with the help of the Walt Disney Animation Studio, is coming to Disney Plus on February 26th. And I'm so you haven't seen it yet, have you, Jim?
I haven't. Because, again, I needed the Oculus setup to do it.
Right.
All right. Well, we were just talking about Pixar stuff. So, and I can't imagine that you actually found time to do this while this was on TikTok. But did you check out Ratatouille the musical?
No, I didn't. I mean, I've been fascinated by this whole thing since the first time I heard about it was on Carly Wiesel's podcast.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that she kind of helped this whole thing get going. But yeah, it sounds really cool. I think some of the songs are stupid, but I think the creativity is there, and I love that, and I love Ratatouille. So give me a review, Jim. How was it?
It was actually surprisingly entertaining. You're right. Not every song in it is a gem. But on the other hand, you had people like Titus Burgess as Remy and Wayne Knight as Django, Remy's dad, or Adam Lambert, Emile as Remy's brother. And they sold it. In fact, honestly, one of my favorite numbers of the show is Gusteau's song, Anyone Can Cook. And Kevin Chamberlain not only performed that, he wrote the song.
Oh, wow.
And it's worth it alone to see Andre de Shields play Anton Ego. I mean, he does such a great job with Ego. Or for that matter, Andrew Barth Feldman he looked like they had actually pulled Linguini out of the cartoon and put him on stage. I mean, the likeness was freaky good. But this was a fundraiser for the Actors Fund. And as it turns out, it was hugely successful. It's the largest fundraiser in the history of the Actors Fund. They raised a total of $2 million over the course of these two performances. Over 350,000 people watched it online. And you will not see this, coming from Disney Theatrical. They were very nice about sort of turning a blind eye to the whole enterprise because, again, it was raising money for the Actors Fund. But yeah, this was a one-off. But as long as we're talking about Broadway-related folks, Did you see what friend of the show, Josh Gad, tweeted out today?
Yes, I did. He said, I will not confirm or deny that Patti LuPone is currently recording an episode of Central Park Season 2, nor will I confirm or deny that I'm currently sobbing with joy. So I'm very happy that Patti LuPone is going to be on Central Park, and I'm just very happy that Central Park is being worked on right now because I love that show so much.
It's great fun. I mean, again, debuted on Apple Plus TV back in May of last year. And Central Park, for those of you who don't remember when Drew and I talked about earlier, it's a production of 20th Century Television, Brulstein Entertainment, and of course Bento Box, the folks who do Lauren Bouchard's Bob's Burgers. And
right down the street from me is one of their offices on Lancashire, which is in the same building that Disney Interactive used to be on.
Is it really?
Years ago, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got to feel for the folks in that building right now because, of course, they experienced a great loss over the past week or so. Did you see the story about Dave Creek?
A very weird story, but very sad. Yeah,
Dave died back on January 9th following a skydiving accident, and this shook them hard at Bento Box. They posted on their Twitter feed that Dave was an extraordinary artist who's been with Bob's Burgers since day one. Creek's not only an incredible talent, but a beautiful person as well, and our hearts go out to his family, his friends, and all of his colleagues at the show who loved him and are grieving today. And you and I have talked about the Bob's Burgers movie for a while now, which, by the way, still is listed with an April 9th release date.
All right, the day that pigs will fly, Jim. All right.
Oh, but it's just, now I guess it's going to be kind of a bittersweet experience because from what I've been hearing, a lot of Mr. Creek's very best work is in this film, which bumps out the cast and expands the look. Oh, by the way, we talked on the last show, speaking of release dates, about how Boss Baby Family Business got pushed back from March.
I know you were in mourning, Jim.
Yeah. All the way back to some... there were parts of the original Boss Baby I like quite a bit. I mean, it has some really strong design, but got some info about this decision, and evidently it did. How Crude's 2, A New Family, I want to say?
A New Age.
A New Age.
Did you ever watch it, Jim?
It's this weekend. It's coming.
God,
this one.
This weekend. If I hear this weekend again, Jim, I mean, come on.
I will. I tell you what, I'll reach out to you when I finish watching these. So mind you, it may be 3:00 in the morning, but I will watch these things. But so got this from a friend at Universal. Okay, so this Dreams animation film, which cost $65 million to make, sold 37 million worth of tickets domestically in North American theaters, did 90 million overseas for a worldwide box office take of 128 million, which again, when you're spending 65 million to make and 25 million to promote, that's not great numbers. But they did okay streaming wise. It hit streaming on, was it December 23rd or the 25th? Which
it was the 23rd, but
okay.
Yeah, 25th is when everything else came out.
Well, that's it exactly. That supposedly it just ran into the wall that was sold. And this very same film, this DreamWorks animation project, comes out on Blu-ray and DVD on February 23rd. And among the extra features of the thing is a short film, To Gerald, which I think you were talking about.
Yeah, did you watch that on Peacock yet?
I have to wrestle the television away from Nancy.
Okay,
I mean,
well, when you do, we're working on some more To Gerard content, so we can put a pin in that conversation. But it's a really great short.
Okay,
it's on Peacock right now. It's up for the best animated short Oscar this year, so check it out because you might be hearing more about it very soon.
Very cool. Very cool. So anyway, again, I guess that was the thinking in regard to when they were running the numbers and just looking at Boss Baby Family Business, and it was just the notion of, would it be smarter to move this thing to a safer harbor? That especially with the issues they're now having with vaccines, how there is no second batch right now, that there are some genuine supply issues. So we have Universal blinking again with Boss Baby Family Business going from the end of March and moving it all the way out to the middle of September. But Disney is still hanging tough with Raya and the Last Dragon. It's still supposed to debut simultaneously on Disney Plus Premier Access and in theaters on March 5th. Did you see we finally we have an actual film description out there now?
Yes, I did. I'm actually seeing some of the movie next week. I don't know if I'm
Are
supposed to
you?
say that or not. But yeah, they're doing a long lead presentation. So I'm there in the front row, Jim, asking my questions.
Okay, because that plugs into, I had heard that we're going to get the really for real trailer in the next week to 10 days.
I hope so. There's toys already out at Target. So
Are there really?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Time is a ticking. So yeah, we need to see more of this movie, Jim.
Did you see the piece in Variety 4 days ago that is now suggesting that Black Widow may go the Raya route with the Disney Plus Premier Access and theatrical?
No, but that makes sense. I mean, it was supposed to be in theaters on May 7th. I don't know if you saw this, Jim, but it looks like the James Bond movie has been bumped again from April to November.
Okay.
And as you said, the vaccine is not being rolled out in a terribly efficient way. Mm-hmm. And that could cause some trouble. I mean, if people aren't safe or don't feel safe, they're not going to go to the movies. So,
well, if we're all stuck at home, at least come February 14th, we can at least look forward to The Great North, which is another fun series from the folks who did Bob's Burgers. This one has actually been coming for a while.
Yeah.
Development was announced back in September 2018 and seemed to be going really well because, what was it, June of last year, they announced before one episode had even aired on the network that a second season was being put into production. That said, again, to sort of prime the pump for this debut on February 14th, they actually ran a sample episode back on Sunday, January 3rd, after the NFL on Fox doubleheader.
Yeah, did you watch it?
I did not. What do we think?
It's good. It's on Hulu right now. It's very dry. It's very funny. Mm-hmm. The animation, again, by Bento Box, looks great. I don't know if Dave had any sort of design things.
My understanding was that he was involved in at least the early shaping of the characters, that sort of thing. The creators of The Great North, Wendy and Liz Molianu, they're the ones who actually just get hired by Marvel to do the screenplay for Deadpool 3, which Disney, by the way, has confirmed will be R-rated. It's been an interesting week for sister and brother teams in animation, because did you see the news about Big City Greens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's renewed for a third season, and they have a overall, as they say, a rich overall deal with Disney Channel and Disney Plus.
That Chris and Shane Houghton, they're supposed to develop new animated series, shorts, and movies for the Disney Channel and Disney Plus. So everybody's working for Disney Plus these days.
There's new episodes tomorrow, Jim. There's a new episode tomorrow. Big City Greens.
Okay. Then we'll have to check that out. Any news on when DuckTales is returning? Or
Jim, I'm in the DuckTales SHIT list right now. I don't know.
That's right.
I got crucified for, amongst other things, not allowing the creators to reveal the end date of the series, which is very weird, because if I only relied on allowing other people to break stories, then I would be a very bad journalist. And if they'd been listening to this show, Jim, they would have heard us talking about this for a year.
We have, in fact, that's just not fair to do that to you, because, a hard reality is, anybody who's been paying attention on any form of social media, the number of people who actually worked on the show who have gone on to take other jobs and work on other shows over the past year. It's just, if you're on the Titanic and you look over the side and there's people getting in lifeboats, shouldn't you ask a question or two? It's like,
right.
Is there something
follow the IMDb people. It's like,
this story was hiding in plain sight. In fact, you and I talked about this how many times? And about the fact that it was honestly one of the worst kept secrets in the industry, and the fact that they'd be punishing for you. That's just silly.
Yeah. But you know what, Jim? I got to work out that block button, very, very liberally on Twitter.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's okay. Okay. Well, anyway, when we get back from break here, folks, Drew and I will take a close look at the history of when Disney decided to release its various animated features.
This episode is brought to you by Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 is the ultimate all-out warfare experience. Rip through the skies in aerial dogfights. Demolish your surroundings for a strategic advantage. Harness complete control over every action and movement using the kinesthetic combat system. Drop into multiplayer with your squad, or fight furiously as a member of the Dagger 1-3 squad in a gritty, adrenaline-fueled single-player campaign where you'll defend a world on the edge of collapse.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Did you see this news come through about Leica, the new head of development?
I did see that. I am just happy Leica is developing things, Jim, because as you know, I feel like I'm in this perpetual state of just fear and anxiety about what's happening with Leica because their movies don't really make any money, but they are amazing. And you and I love them because they have this handcrafted element that is totally missing elsewhere in animation. And so I want them to get in bed with Netflix or Apple or something just to ensure sort of the money pipeline coming through. You know what I mean? But
no, absolutely. You know, and more to the point, a guaranteed way to get, you know, the wonderful films they make out there in front of audiences. I've been remiss. I have not watched Lupin the Third, you know, the part 4 or whatever it's called, and I have not watched Disenchantment yet. But what I have been watching on YouTube is Rankin Bass stop motion specials from the 60s that, unlike Rudolph, you know, aired once and were never seen again. Oh my God. It's one of those things that makes you really appreciate Leica and their art form because there are some terrible ones. Have you ever seen The Ballad of Smokey the Bear?
No.
It was their follow-up to Rudolph. This was how Rankin Bass followed the success of Rudolph. They did an hour-long special, The Ballad of Smokey the Bear. To promote the special, they got a 10-story tall Smokey the Bear balloon put in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. They got James Cagney to be the voice of, the narrator and basically the brother bear, the Smokey's older brother. It's like 50 minutes of sheer torture. It is just, I had no idea that Smokey actually got obsessed with stopping fires because he had post-traumatic stress and from a horrible experience that happened to him as a child.
Wow.
It's worth just sort of a drive-by, if only for the gorilla that escapes from the circus that begins polluting the rivers and smoking cigars. Trust me, you watch this sort of thing, and your immediate thought is, I need to send Leica money because they need to make good stop-motion movies. We need to let them keep making good stop-motion movies. But
I do have a soft spot in my heart for Mad Monster Party, although I do know that I fully recognize that it is insanely annoying that it is a feature-length, essentially Halloween special.
What is the Willie McBean and his amazing time machine? I mean, seriously, there's a lot of these, and they continued. There's one in the 1970s that they did with Danny Kaye, where it's the attempt to do an Easter special one, where here comes Peter Cottontail, and equally terrible. You watch these things and you get so much more of an appreciation for what Leica does.
But Jim, it was pure animagic. That's how they described it. So
there we go. In fact, that's half the fun of watching the opening credits for Willie McBean and his amazing machine. They do the animagic, but they do it like it's a 3D graphic for a 3D film. So it's, it actually has a hinge in the middle. Just
wow.
Animagic.
Willie McBean too looks like a recycled elf puppet from Rudolph too. I'm sure it was.
There's a lot of that sort of stuff. In fact, and that's the thing when you look at Smokey, you can't help but get the sense that you reused sets from Willie McBean, didn't you? But anyway, all right, enough of talking about terrible Rankin Bass specials. Okay, we were just talking about Raya and the Last Dragon, which again releases theaters on March 5th. Seems like a weird date, but The thing is, when you mention it to folks at Disney, they immediately go, no, no, no. Zootopia released to theaters on March 4th, 4 years ago, 2016. Went on to do $1.02 billion in ticket sales worldwide. So it was like, that's a great date. And really, honestly, Disney was hoping when they selected that date that lightning would strike twice. And, obviously now with COVID and people afraid to go back to theaters, I don't know if that's happening.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, again, we were just talking about Thanksgiving weekend, and this was Disney's preferred safe harbor for its feature animation, meaning Bolt, back in November 2008, debuted on the 21st, the Wednesday. Tangled in 2010, it was on November 24th. Frozen, of course, same thing, Thanksgiving weekend. Moana, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and especially Frozen 2 back in 2019. Initially, when Disney was in this window, they used to release movies the weekend before Thanksgiving. This is what happened with Oliver, Little Mermaid, and of course, you just wrote that wonderful story for Collider about Rescuers Down Under, and that was released to theaters back in November 16th, 1990.
I agree, Jim. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was a good story. But yeah, the thinking then was that if they put the movie out into theaters the weekend before, word of mouth and strong reviews would then result in big ticket sales over the Thanksgiving weekend.
Or it would just die before Thanksgiving even happened, which is what happened with Rescuers, right?
That's still sad. But the fact that Rescuers Down Under dies, aren't they pulling advertising the Monday before Thanksgiving?
Yeah, they pull. Yeah. I think by that, and the end of that weekend, all advertisements had been pulled.
You have that sort of problem at the box office, but the very next year, Beauty and the Beast, November 22nd. I mean, it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It comes out and does huge business. Though you have to wonder, though, remember when they showed it the New York Film Critics thing? They showed them the work in progress. You suppose that had an impact on zeroing in on that release date? Or
yeah, I mean, everybody had that sort of reaction. The stories of the standing ovation got out pretty quickly. And I think Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel reviewed it on their show, which I think at the time was owned by Disney. So I don't think that was too much of a coincidence. But they were talking about it as early as whenever that was, September or whatever. Okay. So, I mean, the other thing is that the later in November they opened, the longer they played. I don't know if you remember this, Jim, but those movies would stay in theaters until, March of the next year. No problem. Yeah. So, yeah, I wonder if that thinking sort of went into it as well.
It's interesting you bring that up because there were years when Disney would actually bring out animated features on Christmas Day. I mean, the original Sword and Stone, December 25th, 63, Aristocats, Christmas Eve, 1970. We were just talking about Rescuers Down Under. The original Rescuers was the first Disney film animated film in a generation that had opened in the summer. In fact, it opened June 22nd, 77. This is the summer that Star Wars is in theaters and is doing huge numbers. And, Rescuers comes out after this. And it's just that if you talk with the folks at Disney, they rode the tide of Star Wars success that summer, that families would go to the movie theaters to see Star Wars and the show would be sold out. And it's like, all right, what else you got? Oh, we have Rescuers. And it's like, oh, so this turns out to be the basic success that Disney's had in 10 or 20 years in animation. Or you know the story from your article about how when Eisner walked in the door from Paramount, the whole notion of, okay, we need to make some hits going for Disney. So what's your best-selling live-action film? And, well, that's Mary Poppins. So, okay, let's do that. And what's your best-selling animated film? Well, that's The Rescuers from 77. So, okay, let's get a sequel going for that. But the live features that followed that, Fox and the Hound, Black Cauldron, Mouse Detective, were all released in July. Again, with the hope that, all right, let's put it out during the summer and then we'll do big business. And then Disney circles back to this very same idea in the mid-90s, starting with, Lion King. But weren't you the one telling me that was actually because they missed getting it into theaters in November of 93?
Yeah, I think that was the original release date.
Yeah.
And then it became the biggest movie ever, so then they put everything in the
I mean,
summer.
Pocahontas in summer of 95, Notre Dame, Hunchback in 96, Hercules 97, and so on.
Now it seems like the summer is Pixar's territory.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Well, that was one of the concessions that was made, I think, on the heels of the success of Nemo, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, and they also really, I remember back then it was a big thing that they could put the movie out in the summer and then sell the DVD in the fall.
That's it exactly. Yeah, that going into the holiday season.
Yeah.
But even Walt bought into this idea that there was an ideal time of year to release an animated feature. But back in his day, it was different. When they looked to put animated features out in theaters was actually right about now. And it dates back to the original Snow White. That premiered in Hollywood, December 21st, 37. The following month, the movie opens at Radio City in January of 38. And then finally, it goes into general release on February 4th, 1938. And that's when the tidal wave of money comes roaring toward Disney. And that's how he builds his state-of-the-art studio in Burbank. And that's how he funds his whole slate of films. And so when it comes
It's always fun to try to figure out when these movies actually opened. Too, Jim. You go through the thing and it's like, wait, why was this opening in 5 different months? You know, it spans years that these things come out. It's such a pain in the to figure out when this stuff came out.
And at the same time, also, there's the things like I just recently have come across the mention that at the same time that Snow White opened at Radio City Music Hall in New York, they opened at a theater down in Miami. This was supposedly a very deliberate decision on Walt's part because Max Fleischer had just opened a studio down there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And just the thinking was that, hey, guys who work for Max, go to the movie theater, see what we're doing. And there was this joke at Fleischer Studio, the Florida operation, because so many of the people would go to Fleischer, get trained, and then suddenly be in California working for Disney. There was a joke to the effect of Max had accidentally built the studio on top of an old stop for the Underground Railroad. The idea is the studio, employees would walk in the front door and, they'd find the tunnel. And when they came up on the other side, it was out in Burbank. And actually, Richard Fleischer, his son, there's a great book that he wrote called Just Tell Me When to Cry. And it's all about his career. But it talks about when Walt Disney hired him to direct the 54 live action version of 20,000 Leagues. And Richard was like, I'd love to take this job, Mr. Disney, but you know who my dad is? And said, yeah, absolutely. So I respect what you do and I want you for the job. And so when they were on the lot shooting like the squid scenes and that sort of thing, there was one day when Max Fleischer came to Disney Studios in Burbank and Walt arranged for all of the employees who worked for Fleischer Studios, who were now Disney employees, to come down to the cafeteria and basically have an old home day and hang with Max again. And Richard Fleischer in this book just talks about how all these people were so thrilled to see Max again, but it was like watching his dad in the Disney studio cafeteria sort of look around at all of the guys who used to work at him and look at what Walt Disney had achieved. And it just got this wistful expression came over Max's face to the effect of, this is what it could have been. If I'd gotten the breaks, this is what I could have been.
Right.
But anyway, getting back to the release pattern here, that based on the success of how Snow White did when it went into general release, Pinocchio gets released to theaters in February of 1940. Likewise, Saludos Amigos in February of 43, and then Three Caballeros in February of 45. This continues well into the 60s. Cinderella's released February 1950. Peter Pan is February 53. They do some tweaking of the formula in the late 50s, early 60s. Sleeping Beauty comes out on January 29th, 59, so it's almost February. 101 Dalmatians comes out January 25th, 61, and then I include Ugly Dachshund in this list at February 66 because Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree was on a double bill with that, and that turned out to be a huge IP and franchise for the thing. And it turns out Walt deliberately picked this for the general release time for animated features because of February school vacation, which, by the way, evidently, I was doing some research today. February school vacation as a concept existed at least as far back as 1916. I found a Boston Globe article that actually talks about how February school vacation would be cut in half that year because there had been an infantile paralysis epidemic that, they had shut down the schools for, and they needed to make up the time. So the traditional week off for school in February and April at least predates 1916. But Disney still, today, the studio of today, still believes strongly in the long Thanksgiving weekend. Because Encanto is supposed to come out on November 24th of this year, barring COVID. And if you look ahead to the yet unnamed Walt Disney Animation Studio releases, we've got one that's coming out on November 23rd, 2022, and then November 22nd, 2023. So I guess to sort of bring things full circle here. So really, this week is the Raya and the Last Dragon long lead.
Yes. So I don't know when I can actually talk about what I see or hear or whatever.
Oh, no, I get that.
But yeah, I mean, the movie is coming out soon. So, this is not much of a long lead, all things considered.
This is the description that just came out of Disney Studios in the past week or so. It's like, long ago in the fantasy world of Kamandra, humans and dragons lived together in harmony. But when sinister monsters known as the Droon threatened the land, the dragons sacrificed themselves to save humanity. Now, 500 years later, these same monsters have returned, and it's up to a lone warrior, Raya, to track down the last dragon in order to stop the Droon for good. However, along her journey, Raya will learn it'll take more than dragon magic to save the world. It's going to take trust as well. So I really didn't get that from the teaser.
No. There's no mention of the dragon being a human, which was a big part of the D23 presentation. And I also think they've softened the look of the dragon since D23. It was sort of you remember that it was sort of a weird snake-like dragon, and I think that she's kind of been made a little more cute, again, for all those toys.
Well, now I have to go to Target tomorrow to find these Raya toys. So, okay, well, while I'm in the car, I always like to listen to other podcasts, and one that I particularly enjoy is Light the Fuse. Though, have we officially started on Light the Wick yet? Or
I think it's looking like at the end of the month. Charles is having another baby, so he's going to go off and have his baby, and we're going to, focus on John Wick. It'll be a life and death, Jim, all rolled into one.
God.
So yeah, that we're starting that at the end of the month. We've still got a lot of great Light the Fuse episodes and a lot of great stuff lined up. So I hope you enjoy and are still listening. Because
it's all good, solid stuff. And if you have not listened to the Light the Fuse, podcast, which again obviously celebrates the Mission Impossible film franchise and to a lesser extent the original television series, but what I love about this show is you bring on the amazing crew of professionals who work behind the scenes in this thing. And of course, they all have stories about all of the other films they worked on. So it's honestly this postgraduate class in Hollywood gossip. I mean, it just, there are so many great stories that come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a little, and what I like about it too is that we are talking to every kind of strata of professionals. So you get to hear from different departments and different department heads that you maybe wouldn't hear otherwise or on a different podcast. So we love that. We love anybody who has a weird job and worked on one of these movies. We love to hear it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Can't wait. Okay. We also have a few podcasts over here at the Jim Hill Podcast Network. We've got Disney Eaters with Lentesta, which I would imagine we're going to really get into the Disneyland annual pass holder thing. And by the way, how do we feel about that? You and Katie have annual passes.
I'm going to miss it, Jim. I'm going to miss it. It sucks. It really sucks. I hate it. But I hope that there will be some good stuff that comes out of it, because you and I both know that there were just way, way, way too many people that were at the park. And I feel horrible for people who saved up for a year to come, and maybe it's their only chance they're at Disney World or Disneyland, and it's ruined because there's a bunch of jackets just kind of hanging out. So yeah, I hope that there's some good stuff from it, and I can't wait to see what the replacement is, as they've promised. So,
membership program. So, we'll have to wait and see what that is. But in addition to Disney-ish, we also have Marvelous Disney. We got Universal Joint. We have Looking at Lucasfilm. Likewise, I'm going to be doing a brand new I Want That with Michelle Valladolid, which deals with merch, which I think is probably going to touch on Rey and the Last Dragon toys. Anyway, folks, tell you what, if you could do Drew and I a favor, if you head over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review not only Light the Fuse, Light the Wick, but also the show you're listening to now, Fine Tuning. If you want to head over to Bandcamp and subscribe, that would be helpful. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram. It's just plain old Jim Hill Media, and on Facebook at Jim Hill Media News. And thanks for listening, and we will be back soon.